warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sounds good. Sounds good. I welcome all of you first of all to this Khorasan, particularly Weekend Islamic School. And inshallah, today's event, can any one of you tell me what's the topic of today's event? MashaAllah, all of you know this. Sister?
Parents.
Okay, what about parents? How to be good parents?
No.
What is it?
The generation gap between parents.
Wow. Yes. Importance of parents, okay. Anyone else? Anyone wants to guess? Yes?
Why do we need parents?
I hope the brother is taking down notes. Okay, so today's topic is parenting, a true gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So it's totally opposite of what we said. Okay, why do we need parents? So we will begin inshallah today's session with a few verses from the Quran inshallah by our brother Mohammed. Please.
وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. Your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him and be good to your parents. If any one of them or both of them reach old age, do not say to them a word or expression of anger or contempt, and do not scold them and address them with respectful words. And submit yourself before them in humility, out of compassion, and say, My Lord, have mercy on them, just as they brought me up when I was a child.
Jazakallah khairan. I'll inshallah quickly introduce the speaker of today's event. Brother Mohammed Tosir Miah is from UK, and he has a series of lectures in Bahrain, and he has been here before as well, talking on some really important topics. He has some other topics as well, which I will share with you towards the end of the event. The brother is a graduate from Darul Ilm, and he has been providing series of lectures in different parts of the world. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we thank the brother that he took his time to benefit people of Bahrain. Inshallah, he will be benefiting us today as well with this really important topic, which is parenting, a true gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So without any delays, since Dhuhr is also very near, I will let the brother proceed, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Ashrafil Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Firstly, I would like to thank Discover Islam, the brothers and sisters, for giving me the opportunity to stand in front of you and deliver the words of Allah and the message of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now today's topic is regarding parents, the importance of listening to parents, respecting parents, but also at the same time, as we have many parents, brothers and sisters at the back attending, I will also talk about the importance and the certain rights which children have over the parents. Because when it comes to relationships, they are like a two-way thing. You can't just expect the children just to listen and obey and abide by every single thing which we say. At the same time, we as parents have to fulfill the rights which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us regarding our own children. It's the same issue in a way we have with regards to husbands and wives. It's a two-way thing. Husbands can't just expect their wives to unconditionally listen to them. It has to be from two angles. Husband's fulfilling his rights and likewise the wife as well. So inshallah, today's topic or theme is not just going to be looked at from one angle, but both angles will be discussed to a certain degree. Now the first point or topic which I would like to mention, and there is a slide in front of you, regarding the importance of respecting one's parents. As we have many younger boys and girls in the audience, I'd like to firstly ask a question. And the question is, what is a hadith? When I say the word hadith, which I will be probably using quite frequently over the next hour. So when I say hadith, would anybody like to raise your hands and answer? What do we mean by hadith? Yep, anyone?
Hadith is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ which we must follow.
Okay, mashallah. Yes, so hadith are the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have the Holy Quran, younger brothers and sisters, and then we have the hadith, the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we've mentioned in a saying, in a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated by a very famous companion whose name was Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala an, that ja'a rajulun, qala rajulun ya Rasulullah, that a man said, O Messenger of Allah, man ahaqqu bi husni sahabati, which means who is the most worthy of my companionship, which means that who should I respect and listen to and love the most. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ummuk, your mother. Then that man asked, okay, mother comes first, so who would be the second one afterwards? Thumma man. So now, I think many of you probably would be expecting an answer different to the first one. So if you're like giving a list of what do I need to do today, who do I need to love the most? So you have a list. Number 1 is so and so, number 2 is so and so, number 3 is so and so. So he said, firstly, ummuk, your mother. Then the second answer which Prophet ﷺ gave was also your mother. Good. And the third time when he asked thumma man, it was again good. The answer was also ummuk, your mother. And it was on the fourth time where Prophet ﷺ said thumma abak, i.e. then it is your father. So what we can understand from this hadith, younger brothers and sisters in the audience, that when it comes to loving, companionship, respecting, your mother has 3 automatic rights, and thereafterwards your father comes. And I think everybody knows, especially those who are the elder brothers and sisters in the audience, why our mothers deserve more rights than our fathers. When you look at it, our mothers are always there in terms of from the very young age. So they firstly have us, and then when they give birth, then they the ones who kind of look after you, nurse you, nurture you. So when you start crying at night, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, you won't see, illa mashallah, let's not vilify and belittle our brothers perhaps. They may be saying, well, Sheikh, I also do that as well. But most likely, most situations, it will be the mothers will be awake at 1, 2 in the morning, seeing to their needs of their young babies, boys or girls, whether they need to go to the bathroom when they grow up a bit, whether they're vomited, whether they're sick and they need medicine. You'll see it's the mothers, they're the one who make the sacrifices. It's the mothers who generally do the most looking after and caring of the children when they are growing up. So therefore Rasulullah ﷺ has said that the mother has what? 3 rights over the father. And even perhaps when you're growing up as well, even when you reach your teens, your 12th grade or whatever grade your education here finishes till, you'll see that it'll be your mother who will tend to kind of support you the most in terms of, okay, son, daughter, go to college, go to university, be a doctor, be this, be that, be a lawyer, be this, be that. You'll find that your mothers are always very, very supportive of that compared to perhaps what your fathers may be. Again, illa mashallah, I'm not talking about specific situations, I'm just talking about as a general thing. So because of this reason, Prophet ﷺ has said that the parents or the mother in particular has 3 extra rights compared to the father when it comes to love and affection and showing love to them. There's another hadith which I would like to mention, and this is actually perhaps everybody can adhere to, because those who are elder brothers and sisters in the audience, perhaps your parents are still alive as well. So we could all act upon this particular hadith. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned Raghima anfuhu, Raghima anfuhu, Raghima anfuhu. Now Raghima anfuhu means, linguistically, may your nose be dusted into the soil. May your nose be dusted into the soil. Again, without going to too technicalities here, it's like a phrase or a sentence the Arabs would use when it came to cursing someone, when it came to say scolding someone for an action or for a behavior. So Prophet ﷺ said, Raghima anfuhu, he said it 3 times. Then the companions asked, why, O Messenger of Allah? Qila man ya Rasulullah, that for who? So Prophet ﷺ said, Man adraka walidayhi indal kibari ahaduhuma aw kilahuma thumma lam yadkhulil jannah. Subhanallah. That if somebody was to find his parents in old age and he did not serve them, look after them, he did not manage to get his Jannah ticket booked, then Prophet ﷺ is saying that that person, may his nose be dusted into the soil. So what this hadith, the second one which I've just quoted to you, is saying that when we find our parents in old age, or just in general, and we don't look after them, we don't serve them, we don't do their khidmah, we don't kind of like go and visit them. When they fall ill, we don't go and see them. they may be in the hospitals, we don't go and visit them regularly. Then the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if somebody was to find his parents and he did not manage to look after them and serve them, so hence he could enter Jannah, and he didn't manage to achieve that, then Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, Radima anfuhu, may his nose be dusted into the soil. So these are two hadiths. One talks about the importance of respecting parents, and the other one talking about the severity of not looking after and taking care of our parents in the old age. What will happen to us? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that predicament, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the ability to constantly look after and fulfill the rights of our parents. Now the next slide we have in front of us is regarding the rights of children. Perhaps this is where most of our elder brothers and sisters in the audience would be able to relate to. As I was saying at the beginning of today's lecture, that it's a two-way thing. Can't just expect children to unconditionally listen to you. Sami'na wa ta'na, we listen and we obey. If the parents are not showing their love and affection back to their children. So a few things to mention, that is that parents should realize and acknowledge that children are a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same way Iman is a blessing from Allah, same way ilm and knowledge is a ni'mah and a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, having children is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how can we determine, again somebody may be thinking, well Sheikh, how is it a blessing? How can we determine something being a blessing and something not? Well, the way we determine it is, a blessing is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give to everyone. Like faith, it's not given to every single person. Ilm, knowledge, it's not given to every single person. And likewise, children is not given to every single one. I'm sure there's many couples who are out there who don't have any children. Many couples, perhaps you know, who don't have any children. They've been trying for many years, they don't have any children. They've been using various modern day technologies, IVF, surrogacy, but yet they still don't have children. So first and foremost, what we as parents need to acknowledge is the boy or the girl you have been blessed with, it's actually a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not everybody can have children, not everybody have been given the tawfiq or the ability to have children. Many people would cry to be in the position which you are in. So please parents, first and foremost, take it as a blessing that you have children. Even many of the wives of the prophets, they had children, but they had children very, very late in their life. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam's wife, first wife, comes to mind, Sayyida Sarah. So she had Ishaq alayhi salatu wasalam very, very late, when she was 90 years old. When she was like, she had reached the age, وَقَالَتْ عَجُوزٌ عَقِيمٌ, that she had become barren and old, but yet, due to the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she had a child very, very late. And there's many, many examples like that. Even Sayyida Hannah, who was the mother of Sayyida Maryam, radiallahu ta'ala anha, the same as well, that she had a child, and it's mentioned in the tafsir of Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti, that she had, the way she had the child, the way she desired for a child, was once she saw two animals, and the mother animal was kind of showing love and affection to the baby animal. So because of that, she then desired, oh, I want to have a child, and then she wanted the child to be a boy, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had other plans, and she then gave birth to Sayyidah Maryam radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Its story are mentioned in the Holy Quran in various places. So what I want to say to all the brothers and sisters who are here is that children, great blessing from Allah, they have certain rights over parents, and parents have duties to their children as well. It's a very famous hadith which can be used for a lot of things. Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi," which means that every one of you, the translation of the hadith is every one of you is a shepherd. Every one of you is a shepherd. Now you may be thinking, well, no, I'm not really a shepherd. You know, why is Sheikh saying this for? I'm not a shepherd. No, what does it mean by a shepherd? Is the same way a shepherd looks after his flocks of sheep. Looks after them, and what I mean by looks after them, it's not like he just gives them food and then he goes back to his job or his work, or he goes back onto his phone and he starts messaging, or he starts looking at his contacts or on Facebook and sends a message out from there. No. What does a shepherd do? Now, what exactly a shepherd does is that the whole day the shepherd is looking after his sheep, is looking after his flock. So one sheep will be going there, he'll be chasing that sheep, getting it back into the group. Then after a while, another 2-3 sheep will go that side. Then he'll basically go and collect the sheep from there, bring it back into the group. That's what a shepherd does. So Prophet ﷺ is saying that likewise, each one of us are shepherds and will be asked regarding our flocks. In other words, let's look at it practically, this particular hadith. What we're trying to say here is that every one of us are responsible. Parents, you're responsible for your children. Husbands are responsible for their wives. Mothers are responsible for their children. Fathers responsible for their children. Even as teachers, we're responsible for our students. But the key word which I like from this hadith is Prophet ﷺ using the word shepherd. He didn't say, oh, kullukum an mu'allimu, each one of you are teachers, or kullukum mudarrisun. He said every one of you is a shepherd, meaning like the way the shepherd from morning, from dawn till dusk is chasing after its flocks. The same way the shepherd from dawn till dusk is going here, is going there. This is what we as parents need to be. Because I think, unfortunately nowadays, our perception of parenting has really changed. We just think, oh yeah, we're just paying for their latest smartphone, or we just bought them a tablet, or we just took them out to certain clubs where they practice soccer or any other sporting activities you brothers and sisters do here in Bahrain, and think, oh, do you know what, that's our obligation done. Or we just take them out for a meal, that's it, our obligation is done. It isn't. Just taking them out for a meal, taking them out to a club, taking them out to programs like this, that's just one element, 1% of the obligation which we need to basically do. There's so many hundreds and thousands of obligations as parents we need to fulfill to our children, right? It's not just giving them food, it's not just buying them things on their birthdays, it's not taking them out for a holiday, it's not just going for Umrah or going for Hajj and that's it. We need to be for them for every single moment of their life. And it's not, as I said, it's not financially we need to fulfill their rights. Physically we need to be for them. Children, like, always want their parents to be with them, especially when they are growing up. And it's also emotionally we need to be for our children as well. Many a time, our children, they have a lot of things they want to they're confused about. Sometimes parents are not there to help them. It could be a lot of things. It could be about marriage. It could be about even religion, deen. Some may even have questions about deen, about God and about Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and about the Quran. So as parents, we need to be there. Otherwise, if we just gonna like shift them away and say, no, you just do your own things, and the likelihood is they'll get deviated. And when they get deviated, then as parents, we shouldn't then say, oh, my son's not listening to me anymore, my daughter's not listening to me anymore. No, you have to basically take the initiative and make sure that you give your children the right and the correct tarbiyah, so that inshallah they will be able to grow and be a positive person and also be helpful and have a positive mindset, which then takes me on to the next slide here, which is regarding mental health and psychological issues. Again, this perhaps slide will be a bit more advanced for our younger brothers and sisters in the audience, but like say lack of love, compassion from parents can lead towards psychological issues. It does, like when children grow and they don't have that love from their parents, they grow up to be kind of like very aggressive. Children who grow up where they see firstly their parents, i.e. the father and mother, constantly fighting, constantly bickering. They even see their father perhaps hitting their mothers. So those types of children grow up being very aggressive. Alright, for example, they may not see violence, but if they don't see love, then they get brought up being very harsh and very stern and very short-tempered. So these types of psychological issues, we normally brush it off and say, oh yeah, he was just born like that. But actually, remember everyone, kullu mawludin yuladu ala fitra, which according to one interpretation of fitra, the most common interpretation which is given is of iman and faith. But one interpretation of fitra is that every child is created pure, without any defects. That's why if you look in another hadith, Prophet ﷺ said that when you see a newborn camel born from its she-camel, from the mother, do you see any defects? So likewise, another interpretation of the word fitra is there's no disability, there's no defects in children. So that notion that, oh, we are born and the children was born with psychological issues, according to the Sunnah, that's not entirely correct. Everyone's born good. Everyone's born correctly, right? We can't question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation there. So what then happens? Why do then some children differ? Well, sometimes, again, I'm not saying this is the only issue, but sometimes their upbringing has and plays a very, very important role. So if they've been brought up in a way, lack of love, lack of affection, so when they grow up and they will inshallah one day will get married, they'll find it difficult to show that love and affection to their wives and to their children when they have. So it's very important that from a young age we give that love and affection, but at the same time, brothers and sisters, as you can see from the second point, there needs to be a balanced approach. Right? There needs to be balance. Istiqamat, and not only that, it has to be on the straight path. Because again, that's another issue as well. I've noticed that sometimes parents, because Sheikh said we should show love and compassion to our children, take that very loosely and they just allow their children just to go wild. No, that's not right as well. You shouldn't be too strict and too oppressive, but at the same time, brothers and sisters, there needs to be a balance in what we do. So yes, where your children are wrong, you need to tell them, look son, you were bullying this child today, that is wrong. Or son or daughter, you said something insulting to one of your colleagues in class or in this room, that is wrong. They have to be told that. You have to be firm where they made mistakes. If you're brushing their mistakes under the carpet, as we say in English, they're just gonna get built, or their nurturing will be of arrogance and rebelliousness. So they'll just do anything. They'll just do any form of oppression and zulm, thinking that it's all okay because they weren't told what was right and what was wrong. So when you raising your children, yes, love, compassion needs to be there, but at the same time, everything needs to be done within, obviously, the boundaries of the Sharia, and also more importantly, it has to be done within the hudud and within the straight path, within moderation, so that they're not all making mistakes and we're not looking at their brushing or foregoing their mistakes, and at the same time, when they're doing something good, we're also rewarding them as well. Now, there was a point which I wanted to raise in today's talk regarding why disrespecting parents is at an all-time high within many cultures. This is not an issue for the UK, this is not an issue for the Western countries, wherever you go. Middle East countries, whether you go to India subcontinent, I'm sure whether it is in Africa, Far East, Malaysia, Thailand, whatever it may be, disrespecting the parents is at an all-time high. Every parent you speak to, they always have the same issues. Oh, children don't listen to me. Children don't do this, children don't do that. Now, yes, we can say and we can point to that, oh, do you know what, there's nothing we can do. No, we could take that attitude and say, do you know what, this is all signs of Day of Judgment, because everybody knows that's one of the minor signs of Day of Judgment, that parents will be disrespected. There will be uququl walidain. So we could just say, oh, do you know what, it's all signs of Day of Judgment, let's just like go with the flow, let's just like continue with life as normal, and just acknowledge that it's a sign of Day of Judgment. But I don't want to really do that and just acknowledge it. Yes, it is a sign of Day of Judgment, but at the same time, I think there is one way where both of us can really benefit by understanding this next topic. That why do we have a lot of what we call disrespecting of parents? Why are always constant bickering going on between parents and children? Why is it that we hear cases that parents and children don't talk to each other anymore? Why is that the case? And I think this is one of the main reasons perhaps why it happens. And I just want to discuss or say a few things so everybody understands the importance of it. And this topic is called what we call the generation gap. And this is where our elder brothers and sisters really need to listen. Because what happens is, it's always, whenever we speak to our children, it's always we comparing them to what we were like when they were that age. So, classic example would be like perhaps the youngsters or the teens of this day and age, a bit more relaxed, they have their phones, they may not be as hard working. So the parents will say, oh well, you know, when I was your age, I used to like, you know, run the marathon, I used to like run everything, and I used to like carry everything, I used to do all the shopping, and I used to do this, I used to do that, and look at you, you're not doing anything. Classic example. So they will kind of like compare themselves to what the child was that age and say, look, when I was your age, I used to do this, I used to do that. And this same thing as well, even between teachers and students, I've noticed this as well. where teachers will say to students, oh, when I was your age in year 1 of the earning program, I used to do this, I used to do that, and look at you, you're not doing anything. And then what happens, we may take it as a bit of a joke, but actually what really happens is that this builds resentment, because their parents are constantly nagging and criticizing them that, our parents always comparing us to them 50 years back, but they don't understand us, they don't know there's like social media and all these other things which we have to deal with, and peer pressure and X, Y, and Z. And they're talking about things which happened in the 70s and the 80s and in the 90s, and now it's nearly approaching 2020, and the time has moved on, and parents don't understand that. And we call this thing a generation gap. And to tell the truth, this is where many of the brothers and sisters, you need to really listen to what I'm going to say, because hopefully, again, at the end of the day, it's about how well we want to bridge that relationship, or bridge the gap, I should say, and how well we want to be close to our children. But what I'm going to say, a few things, inshallah, if we were to work on, I'm sure, whilst our younger brothers and sisters are still young, we will be able to build that connection. So whilst they're growing up, inshallah, there won't be any issues of disobedience and disrespect, because this is the ideal age. I see a lot of young faces in the audience. This is the ideal age to kind of nurture them. When they hit their teens, then to nurture them will be very, very difficult, but this will be the best time to start basically nurturing them. So I just want to mention, why does this kind of generation gap happens? Why does it happen? And to tell the truth, this is happening a lot now, and the main reason I'll say is because of advanced social media or advanced technologies. Because every year, every few years, there's always a new app out, or something new is always out, whether it's like WhatsApp or Facebook or emo or whatever it may be, something new is always out. So because of that reason, the parents, especially the elder generation, they find it difficult and struggle to kind of keep up to date with modern day things. So it's very, very important that we kind of like understand. Now, the first point to mention is, why does generation gap happen? Why is it that after a while, parents and children, they kind of like their bond slowly disintegrates, and they kind of like move further and further away? This is the first reason why it happens, because of lack of communication. And lack of communication, speaking to each other, is due to each other's lifestyle. Everyone's busy nowadays. Parents are busy. Most parents, the father and the mother, I'm sure, are both working. So everyone's busy. And the children are busy as well, in terms of schools, studies, and other kinds of things. So the first thing to mention is little communication or lack of communication. Parents or children are not speaking to each other anymore. So parents have problems. I'm sure they're going through some stress as well, but it's not being raised, it's not being discussed. And likewise, the children, they have a lot of problems, a lot of social problems. But the problem is, there's no one who they can turn to discuss these problems and these issues with them. So number one is this little communication. Another reason why a generation gap happens is because of the controlling behavior or deciding behavior of some parents. That parents want to decide everything for their children. So you have to do this, you have to study law, you have to study medicine, you have to study this, you have to study that. Decide everything for them, even to the extent that they want to decide their spouse for them as well. So if you want to get married, okay, this is the girl you have to marry. So over time, that kind of leads to disputes and quarrels that, look, my parents don't even allow me any choices. And this is the negativity of point number 2, is that the child is being brought up, but he's being very restricted that he's not even allowed to make any decision for himself. It's like he has to listen to what his parents say. So this controlling, now obviously you may be thinking, well, what's wrong with that, Sheikh? But the problem is that, remember, children, they have social media friends. So you think that you're deciding everything, yeah, fine, but then behind your back they're probably doing so many other things as well. So if you have a more trusted kind of relationship, you'll see that behind your back they won't be doing anything incorrect or wrong. Because what I've noticed with this point number 2 is those parents who be too strict on their children. Now, you have to study from this age to this age, you have to work here, you have to get married to this particular woman, and you need to do this, you need to do that. Most of these children who grow up from this second, because of this second reason, will be nurtured in this way. Trust me, many of these children, when they grow up, they do so many things behind their parents' back, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like whether it's like, say, contact with opposite gender. Like I'll give you an example. Number 2, parents very strict. It's haram, this and that. Which, don't get me wrong, it is to be in contact with opposite gender. But when they make it so strict and they don't even allow them to kind of choose their own spouse, on the side they're probably dating a girl anyway. They're doing these things anyway on the side. So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes you just need to be a bit free and open, because if you be too strict, they're doing the opposite anyway. You have Dr. West here, who's one of my students, and I'm sure he'll tell you as well that sometimes as a teacher, if you be strict and you say, oh, look, you can't do this, you can't do that, I don't want you to behave like this, I don't want you to behave like that, you list 100 things, I'm sure out of the 100 things, 50 of them behind the teacher's back they're doing anyway. So you just have to sometimes be a bit open, be a bit relaxed. And the third reason why we have this generation problem is what we call a cultural problem. Cultural reasons. Again, depending from what background you are from. If you use Indian subcontinent, perhaps you're expected as a son to behave in a particular way. As a daughter, you're expected to behave in a particular way. If you're from Arab, Middle East countries and other countries, there may be another issue as well. So these are the reasons why we see parents and children over the years, this gap has kind of gone big, and it's getting bigger, and the way the world is going, it's going to get even more bigger. Yeah, now unfortunately, when you are young, you see, parents, children, you see that connection. As soon as the children hits their teens, parents and children, literally, they become like strangers. It's like they don't know each other. They don't know each other. They won't even contact their parents, their mother, father, leaving them a message. Even on occasions like Eid, they won't even go to visit them. And to tell you, this is happening a lot. Every year there's always, this gap is widening and broadening to such an extent that it's very, very difficult to kind of close that gap. So these are 3 reasons. If I move on to the next part, these are just some tips which I would like to mention regarding how to kind of bridge and close this particular gap. So first thing is this: parents should be up to date about everything. Yeah, parents should be up to date about everything. I think this would be more helpful if there was a parenting course how many of us, me included because I'm also a parent as well, how many of us are really up to date with the scene of the youth, meaning in terms of social media, other things which they are involved with? How many of us are really, really up to date? I'll say perhaps 50% of us. Many of us either are too busy or we are not basically aware of what our children are going through. Now, we need to be a bit more aware of the current climate. I always say this to our students who are training to be imams and leaders, that as an imam, you need to understand that, yes, we have the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith, but at the same time, we need to be aware of the current climate so that we are able to implement the Quran, Hadith and everything to this climate. So being aware of what's happening doesn't mean, brothers and sisters, you're going against the Sunnah. No, it doesn't mean that. There's actually what we call a principle where the scholars or the jurists have said that due to changing of times, ahkams and rules can also change as well. So likewise here for many parents, yeah, there may be certain things that may not have been acceptable in your culture 20, 30, 40 years ago. But due to the changing of time, yes, these things are acceptable. I remember a time where, it would have been not acceptable for women to go out, but now it's okay. Or like taking your family out in some cultures was not acceptable, but now it's okay. Now you can't apply those cultural things 20, 30 years ago and apply it here because now everybody goes out. So things like that, you need to be, as parents, a bit more up to date. This is also important as well. Be like their friends and not strict. Yeah, be like their friends. As parents, always listen to our children. That's, I think, something very, very important. Irrespective of how silly it may be what our children want to say, but always be like their friend and not strict. Always make this a habit that when I'm in the UK and I pick my daughters up from school, I always make sure the first thing when they get into the car, I actually ask them how their day is. And sometimes, obviously, I've got young daughters, so they'll say something silly or this happened, that happened, which to them, it sounds so funny. To us adults, think, oh, that's not even funny. But anyway, they say something that this happened in class. To them, it was so funny, but we need to listen. As parents, we need to listen to them. Even though you think, oh, that wasn't even a joke. But no, it's about you giving that ear to them. It's about you listening to them. So be more like their friend. Don't be like overbearing, strict, as I mentioned, controlling them. Oh no, this is wrong, you shouldn't have. No, don't always constantly put them down. That's another thing as well. That don't constantly pick out petty things. Oh, you didn't stand like this, or you didn't sit like that. Okay, everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes, we kind of pick them out in little things. Even though they may be standing straight and sitting properly, then we'll say, oh, you didn't say salam, and you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So we're kind of constantly looking for faults. That's wrong as well. They make mistakes. Yes, just tell them, okay, next time, say salam before you speak. Or next time you stand like this. Or next time you stand like that. You have to basically teach them. Yes, they make mistakes, you teach them, but you don't constantly belittle them and put them down. And whilst in the car driving up here, I was actually making a point, and this is kind of very important as well, is we as parents, we shouldn't compare our children to other people's children as well. And this is like a pet hate of mine. Like, we always constantly belittling our own children and making others' children brilliant. So we say to our own children, our own sons and daughters, oh, you're just useless, you can't do nothing, you can't achieve anything. But then with others' children, we always build them up and praise them. So no, this is also incorrect as well, yeah? You need to support them. Don't constantly belittle them. Don't say that they're useless and they don't know anything, and others' children, yes, look how smart they are, look how intelligent they are. I'm sure your own sons and daughters can also be intelligent and smart if they have been given the right support. You know, it's very similar, even like I do this with our own students in the school as well. I always push them, always give them encouragement. You know what, you can do it. You can do it. I don't put them down and say, oh, you're a useless student, you can't do anything. No, I always actually encourage them that, you know what, you can do everything. And it's true, we can do everything. We have the ability to be like great leaders, great imams, great whatever, great doctors, great whatever. But we just need that support, and we don't need to be put down by everyone. And he says that bridge the gap, don't make things. Like I mentioned, parents should avoid picking out the mistakes, comparing them with other children. So these are like a few things, inshallah, which I'm sure we can implement. But as I was saying, it's like a two-way thing.